Okay, this is Jim Nowakowski welcoming everyone in the audience today for this exciting an hour you're going to spend with me, how to target and hit the right customer, special COVID-19 edition. Hopefully you can all hear me. If you got a question, put it in the question box. If you need credit, we've already known that, but if you need help with your credits afterwards, just send me an email or send Sue Alt an email. She handles all that with us. And I'm very excited to be here with you today. For this wonderful, difficult economy that we're in. Let's see, let's get started. A few details. AIA, this is AIA approved. We got this approved in record time because everybody's interested in how to do business in the COVID-19 environment. It's also NKBA approved. So those of you who are out there, and we know there's a lot of you who need NKBA and or AIA credit, you're going to get full credit for this course, and if you need help navigating for that, just drop us an email. This course was redone. It's we had this course in for many years that we were doing it, but with the COVID-19 hitting and disrupting everything, we decided to rewrite it, and sure enough, the AIA approved it. So we're going to look, this course is going to try to bring together tactics that still stay the same, but are different. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but what the virus has done is actually changed the way we all market. But what we want to do in this is really empower you to take control, to find new customers, because ladies and gentlemen, they're out there. They're just harder to find. It's also going to show that your role is a three-part dance, how to find, attract, and nurture new business in this very, very difficult environment. So we set up these learning objectives. We want to learn still how information is created, consumed, and distributed, and that hasn't changed. It's only intensified in this virus-infected environment because everybody's online now. Everybody's afraid. I'm going to see a client for the first time in 3 months tomorrow. He said, basically, Jim, do you mind coming over? I said, of course not. You know, virus doesn't scare me. And he goes, well, it scares me. I said, well, then I'll wear 3 masks. And we joked, and I'm going tomorrow, and it's going to be a wonderful. I bought a thermometer to take my own temperature. I told a friend the other day, this is what you have to do when you're thinking about how to do business these days. You have to rethink everything you're doing. The one thing you really, really want to think about is that second bullet point, the proven and new techniques to find new prospects. That's the hardest thing. And we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to recognize how to gain knowledge, you know, from existing data, allocate your time, and how to effectively build a strategy. Strategy, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most important things you can do around gaining and keeping new customers. So I like to begin with a story. This is a story that hasn't changed, but it will change. The effects of the story, and that is basically I had to do a direct mail piece for the largest Jewish synagogue in Chicago. This is before the virus, many years before the virus, and we did a direct mail campaign where we had a letter, a brochure, and they were trying to sell bricks at $1,000 a brick to support the new garden that they were building. They were building a garden and they wanted contributions. So we wrote a letter. I wrote a letter. I brought the letter in. And it was reviewed. It made the assistant director was weeping at my letter. It was so effective. And we mailed it out in 2 weeks. We got $200,000. I could tell you that it was my letter that did it. I'd be lying. I could tell you it was the brochure we did on the new garden, which was an architectural rendering. I'd be lying. The real reason it got $200,000 in 2 weeks is because we used the synagogue's list. If I would have sent it to the Catholics, I wouldn't have raised a dime. The reason I tell you that story and why that story is still relevant today is because this list offer creative is the most important, non-changeable. This hasn't changed. The virus has not, let me repeat that, the virus has not affected the order of this. In other words, your list is the most important thing you can have whenever you're doing prospecting or new business solicitation. Next comes the offer, which is changing because of the virus. And then the creative on how you execute, which again is changing because of the virus. So we're going to talk about this throughout the presentation. but I want to embed this in your mind. And I see some people who have been here before. Welcome, Joe. I see you just got here. Welcome. I want to embed this in your mind. This has not changed because of the virus. So welcome, everybody. I see a lot of Gmail, AOL, Hotmail, and Bell South attendees in the audience, but here's some of the other companies. I got a couple of repeats coming in as well, and I want to welcome you all. I'm going to try to give you an hour's worth of information and inspiration so that you don't let this virus defeat you. It's very important. These were the critical questions that we asked pre-COVID. The customer I would like most to get back that I don't have now is. The customer I lost that I would like to get back is. The market I would most like to penetrate is. And what is it about your best customer that makes you the best? These questions haven't changed. These statements haven't changed. What has changed is the response to this. For example, the customer I would like to get now that I don't have is, and I don't even know if you can answer that question, because quite frankly, every customer counts. The objective of today is leads. I can share with you my latest post, should you sell to an individual or a group, where one of the leading thinkers in the country, Forrester Research, just produced a white paper that basically says you shouldn't aim at a person, you should aim at a group, which is just bad advice. If you neglect the decision maker in your efforts, you're never going to get to first base. See, so every lead, they're saying leads don't matter. Well, of course they do. And even though they argue that when you're selling to a group, one of those people in the group or the decision is made by a group, you and everyone in that audience that's in there today know, and I know, that the decision, when it comes down to a decision whether to buy your products and services, it will always fall down to one person. I'm not saying you don't gather information from a group. What I'm saying is that one person is going to pull that trigger. And unless you know who that person is and you target that person, ladies and gentlemen, you are wasting your time. The other thing to think about is today, you just leave something in the dust. Today, you just leave some in the dust. There's no response means that they are struggling too. You can't get blood out of a turnip. Do you think for a moment that you're the only one suffering in business today? And I know, Jim, there's some businesses that are really hopping. They're really prospering. Well, you know what? Great. But that's if you're selling masks. And even then, who wants to be doing that? Businesses today are suffering. We had a client who wanted to cut one of their major programs. We run these programs for many clients. One client just stopped it. And we said to them, why would you stop this when in fact virtual learning is going on even more now? But they cut the program for the rest of the year. This is a major company in appliances today. Another company who's also a major manufacturer wanted to cut their program. And we said to them, why do that when in fact, your customers, if they're not going to participate in it, will cut it for you? Guess what happened, ladies and gentlemen? Within 2 months, since March, within 2 months, that company has now doubled down and created 2 new programs because of the participation rate in the first program. Ladies and gentlemen, what you really want to understand, if you understand that triangle that I showed you and understand this truth, you are not in this alone. You are not. If you were alone in this, then things would be really bad, but you are not. Everybody is suffering. Markets have shifted. And while some hum along, others reconfigure themselves. And that's really your market and our market. And that's very important, that the best is being redefined. When you see, we all say, well, Jim, you should follow best practices. Well, guess what? Throw those best practices right out the window. A lot of those best practices aren't best anymore because the environment that you're operating in them has changed. Ladies and gentlemen, this course is not going to give you the magic bullet. This course is going to give you ideas on how to redefine best practices for yourself. Because, when they redefine best practices, guess what? They're redefining the worst practices. And sometimes the best becomes the worst, believe it or not. It's time to flip the switch. When I redesigned this course and gave it to the AIA NKBA, My theme was basically, it's time to flip the switch. You can't live on yesterday's information. That's why I revised this course, because while the information is good, it needs to be flipped to today's environment and relevance. So we're still, before virus, before COVID, we were still dealing with an immense amount of data, immense amounts of data. And guess what the COVID has done? It's increased the amount. If you had Zoom stock, and I don't even know it's a public company, you'd be making money head over heels. How many people are Zooming? How many people are crashing? Because when you have 18,000 people on a Zoom meeting, you realize it doesn't work, right? I'm kidding. So the insane amount of data has not stopped. It's just increased. And if you think about it, B2B never sleeps. You can Google, if you Google B2B never sleeps, my blog is #1. And when you read that blog, you will find out that that was pre-COVID. You can imagine what it is in post-COVID. It's even more because people are hunkered down. They rarely get out, and if they do get out, it's like breathtaking, and they don't even want to think about a computer. If you expect to be found in an environment like this, if you expect to do business in an environment like this, you need a plan. You need to be something, you need different tactics, or you need to take the same tactics and redefine them. And boy, do you need time. And you're going to say, well, Jim, that's all I've got. I sit in my room. I've got a major president of a publishing company telling me the other day that his daughter from downtown in Chicago has moved back with him because she's tired of being in her 600 square foot apartment alone, right? So now he's got all of his family back with him. It's a different environment, right? But you need the time, and you cannot waste the time, and you need experience, and you have to do this. You have to make yourself the news cycle. What do I mean by that? You cannot go on a website today and not see somebody talking about the COVID, right? COVID, 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 COVID. And what all that does is it sparks fear. It gives fear. And you have to overcome fear. And the only way you overcome fear is to make yourself the center of attention, to become the news cycle, to talk to your customers as customers. Because ladies and gentlemen, they're waiting to be talked to. They really are. You have to flip the switch. I encourage you to ask questions in the question box. If you have a question, throw it in the question box. I'll be happy to take your questions before, during, or after this presentation. So what's the real objective today, right? Guess what? It hasn't changed. You're trying to create relationships. Only instead of, can you imagine being told that handshaking will never happen again? The guy who said that is probably secretly an anarchist. Handshaking is American, isn't it? That's how you create relationship. Well, Jim, what if I catch the virus? Well, use a hand sanitizer. I'm going on this client meeting, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I've got a thermometer. I'm going to take my own temperature. I told that to one of my engineering buddies. He says, Jim, that's great. It shows you care. Well, maybe it does, but I didn't buy the thermometer to show I care. I showed him so he feels safe when I walk in that room. That's what this is about. And you create relationships by doing what Maslow told us. You have to feel safe. And you have to have knowledge. There's so much information flowing around today. Does anyone in the audience really know what's true or not? Do you really know what's true about this virus? Or do you not? You know, all the experts have been wrong since the beginning. You know this. If you follow this at all, you know that experts are wrong. All of their predictions have fallen by the waysides. And guess what? I've been on tons of webinars about the builder environment, about the building environment, about what's going on in construction today. And guess what? Most of the reliable presenters end up by saying this: I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, neither do you and neither do I. So that makes us an expert, doesn't it? Doesn't it? It makes us just as much of an expert as these experts. So begin with a plan, hatch your strategy, look at what you do. That's what we're going to talk about today. What kind of stuff are you really selling? What kind of stuff are your prospects buying? Jim, they're not buying anything now. Why not? Have you asked them? We're doing research for our clients today that are going out to their customers and asking them exactly that question. Who's buying from you today? What are they buying? We get surveyed constantly. Have you done that to your customer file? And if they aren't buying, why aren't they buying? Well, because, Jim, nobody's doing anything. And why aren't they doing anything? Well, because of the virus. Those are convenient excuses. Just as the same thing happens when somebody tells you you're too expensive. That's an excuse that they don't want to do business with you. You have to try to make them to do business with you. You can't make anybody do anything, but you got to practice salesmanship 101. Where are these people shopping nowadays? I was on a retail webinar the other day. This is major retailers in the beauty fashion industry, right? These people are absolutely suffering, but they're not giving up. They're doing wonderful creative things like creating chat so that somebody coming to their e-commerce site can talk to a store manager who's sitting in Los Angeles twiddling his thumbs, and he answers the chat, and the customer gets excited about talking to someone with knowledge about the products they're trying to buy and ends up buying them. Go figure. Go figure. Who would have thought that talking to somebody with knowledge will help them buy something? That's what you have to do. You have to restart and start thinking about what the heck you're selling and what kind of services and materials you need. You know, they may not be the same, or they may be the same. A lot of you are in the renovation business, the remodeling business, right? And people say, well, that's going to shoot up through the roof because everybody's working at home. And they are. But that doesn't mean that they're going to remodel their home office necessarily. I read a blog the other day that was posted on the wonderful website, kbresource.com. You should visit it frequently, kb-resource.com. And on that blog, it said basically, here's 7 steps you can do or 8 steps that you could do for your home office. One of them was, you ready? This will shatter your minds. Light a candle so that it smells nice. Are you kidding me? That's not what people want to hear. I mean, it's a nice thought, but that's not what people want to hear. What are they going to do? And you have to write this out. You have to write a narrative about what you're selling. Here are the tactics that have not changed. Your website is the most important tactic you have. It's where people find you. We're doing a series of case histories for a new client that basically talks to a certain segment of the audience that are locksmiths. I've talked to 5 locksmiths already. Our staff has talked to 5 locksmiths. Not one of them has a website. And we say, well, how do you survive? And they go, well, I'm very busy now, you know, and I don't think I need a website, although I know I will need one in the future. I'm getting all my business from referrals, which many of you in the audience do. Let's admit it. We got our new clients from referrals, and that's great, but that shouldn't stop you from prospecting, right? Well, guess what locksmiths do these days? Guess what they do? They focus on security. And guess what people today feel more than anything else? Insecure. And guess what kind of business all 5 of those people were doing? They were doing gun safes. I'm just saying, that doesn't mean you should get into the gun safe business. I'm just saying you got to go where people are thinking. And if they're feeling insecure, make them feel secure. Maybe there's a whole new area of interior design and designing where security plays a role. I'm just saying. And you communicate that best through your website. Databases are important. Your customer file is still the most critical asset you have, and the internet. If you don't know how to navigate on the internet, and we're going to talk about SEO, you're going to be out of luck. Social media is important, but it's losing its edge. Facebook is being challenged for what they post or don't post. TikTok is being reviewed by the government and may, in fact, shut off. What are the children going to do? If the government comes along and shuts down TikTok, what are our children going to do? They'll find something else. They're very innovative. And that's what you have to do. You have to find something else, because what's been shut off is your channel to your customers. Don't let that happen. Do the unexpected. What does that mean, Jim? Well, as you think about it and hatch your strategy, and this is the way I used to do it, what should I do now? What's unexpected? Like buying a thermometer. I assure you that this new piece of business does not expect me to walk in with a thermometer and take my own temperature. What kind of impression will that make? What kind of impression do you want to make? I'm not saying you should do this. I'm not saying that you should go buy a bucket truck to visit your mom on the third floor of assisted living center or buy a bucket truck to go call on your clients. I'm just saying this is unexpected. Do the unexpected. And you have to think about this 24 hours a day. It's no longer, there is no business that's ever going to be a 9-to-5 job ever again, ever again. But guess what? The good news is we've been practicing this. I've been practicing this since day one of our 30-year run. I don't wake up without thinking about the business. Well, Jim, that means you don't have a personal life. Of course I do. Of course I do. But everything relates to the 24-hour activity of how I'm going to grow my business. Streaming video, who would have thought? Who would have thought that today most of our content is coming from Netflix and Prime? Who would have thought that? List, offer, creative. Remember this. With every rejection, you come step closer to acceptance. The dial for dollar people, like I used to be, have a ratio, a win to loss, a WL ratio, win to loss ratio. That means if they do 10 things and they get one hit, it's a 10-to-1 ratio. Sometimes you have to do 20 things to get the hit. You have to keep going and trying things. You cannot have success without failure. You have to learn. You have to try new things. You have to master SEO. The key to the future, ladies and gentlemen, for all of your businesses in the audience, including ours, is SEO, search engine optimization. Everybody talks about it. Everybody says they've got the solution to it, but that's BS. SEO is governed by two things and only two things: content and linking. That's the secret of SEO. And you need content. And guess where you put your content? On your website, or you put it on other pieces. I've had 5 offers in the last week that are asking me to link some of my content to their content. And when I asked them, will you relink back to me? All 5 said the exact same thing. Our policy is not to do this at this time. So what do you think I did? I said, I didn't even respond. For some, I said, thanks, but no thanks. Why would I do that? Why would I link to my site from there, them, when they won't be reciprocal? Ladies and gentlemen, reciprocal. Remember that statement. And most of all, you have to plan. Let me give you some examples. If you Google, what do you do when you lose a sales pitch? What do you do when you lose a pitch? Just if you Google, don't do it now, ladies and gentlemen. I want you paying attention. But if you Google it, that blog is number 1. That blog has had over 8,000 views since I posted it late last year or early last year. Over 8,000, and it's getting more and more every day because people are losing pitches. Well, Jim, how do you hang your hat on that? Well, I want to position Interline as an industry expert. So if more and more people read that post, more and more people will actually consider us as an expert, because everybody loses. There's nobody winning. I don't care how big you are, you're not winning today. And if you do win, it's either here or there, just like us. So the customer, I'm going to go over these questions again before I flip the switch and after I flip the switch. The customer I would most like to get back. You've all lost customers, right? I was talking to a PR professional on Friday, and she said her customer has cut her fees down to fumes. This was a major customer. So we're all losing customers. The question is, how did you lose this customer? I think most people today will say because of the virus. Well, that's like you're too expensive. That's an excuse. You lost this customer. You really want to know why? Because of fear. They're afraid. They don't know what to do. You have to be a comforter in chief. You have to be the consoler in chief. You have to be the company that actually helps them overcome their reluctance to spend money. And in breaking that relationship, whose fault was it? When a relationship breaks, it's usually twofold. Before the virus, it could have been something you did. Could have been something they did. After the virus, again, what are you going to say? Whose fault was it? It was the virus's fault. The virus is getting blamed for everything. And guess what? That may not be true. How serious was the breakup, right? Well, before the virus, it might have been very serious. Although when we broke up with a client in New York, he came back 2 years later and rehired us. And when we said, why did you come back? He said, because we're out of puberty now, Jim. They're still our client, even though they've shut down now. They've shut down. They owe us money. We're carrying money. And guess what? They will be back. And if they won't be back, they're going to go down and it's over, right? But we believe they're back. We stay in contact with them and we love them. And we have to show our love by exchanging information and holding their account up. You understand? This is what the virus has done. It has brought to the surface. All the sand is revealed, right? The ocean is gone. The comfort zones are gone. It is revealing everything you need to know about the truth of marketing. And the truth of marketing is that you need to deepen your relationship with the customers who count, right? If you had 99 customers, maybe only 5 of those counted. The rest were just there for the ride. What are you going to do if you want them back? This is an example before the virus. Caledonian Furniture wanted their customers back. He had great customers. He was a showroom, right? We assessed the situation. He hadn't contacted them in a long time. We did a mailing for them. This is a true story. This is pre-COVID. We did this mailing for them. He was getting leads out the yin yang, right? See the card in the lower left? They were saying, Barry, we love you. This was Barry and his sons. Beautiful English antique furniture. The armoire was $250,000, more than my home cost. It was unbelievable. This guy loved furniture, right? And he was getting leads back, and people were saying, "We love you, Bernie," right? This is what that newsletter looked like. He see that picture on the left of the lady in there. He sold that for $5,000. His average sales price for the products that he carried at that time were $750. He went out of business before COVID. Let me repeat that. He went out of business before COVID for this reason. He didn't follow up with the leads. He also didn't take advantage of his intimate knowledge of his customer file. And guess what? COVID strikes. And if COVID strikes, your business about to change. You can read my blog, right? You have to flip the switch because it's not going to change that much to decrease the effectiveness of the tactic. Direct mail will still work. I'm going to tell you something right now. Letters work. You're going to hear me say that throughout the presentation. What do you mean, Jim? I mean a United States Postal Service letter will work today probably more than it did before the virus. More than it did because everybody was digital before. Now everybody's really digital, right? You know how many emails you get and got and are getting, right? I wrote a letter to the president of a major company in this space, right? On June 26th, he called me, right? July 3rd, called me because of a letter. Never met him, never talked to him, never linked into him, wrote him a letter. He calls me. Jim, this is Bob. I got your letter. We had a wonderful 10-minute conversation. I asked for 30 minutes in the letter. But he gave me 10 minutes of his time, right? And guess what I did yesterday? I sent him another letter because he didn't link in with me yet. I sent him on LinkedIn, right? Can you link in with me? He's a busy guy. He's the top guy, right? Direct mail will work. Customers are fearful, so bring the furniture to them. Bring your services to them. What do I mean? I mean, go online, make presentations. We constantly do presentations online. This is a presentation. Have private showings online. Make it easy for your customers to overcome their fear and deal with you. Don't put up obstacles. Don't say, I can't answer the phone right now, I'm busy. Answer that phone. Nothing's changed. The tactics are the same. What you're really designing these tactics to do is to help your customers overcome their fear. And email tactics work. Another question that I asked pre-COVID, right, was basically the market I would like to penetrate. Now, markets are everywhere, right? We have real estate markets, which I'm going to talk about. We have commercial markets. And if you studied today, if you study the statistics today and the markets today, guess what? They're all like turtles on their back. Nobody knows what the heck is going on. Nobody. So what is the market like now? If you're going to go after a market, you better know what that market's like now. How big is the market? How many companies are in that market? None of these questions have changed because of a virus. What will be your approach in terms of tactics? Well, the tactics are going to be the same as you used pre-COVID, but after COVID, you may not choose all of the same tactics. It'll be a different tactic. Is there one tactic that seems better? One tactic that's really working now are panel meetings, are discussion groups, are attending webinars and sharing information. How can you flank the market? How can you walk in there and become as much of an expert as the supposed experts in that marketplace? Ladies and gentlemen, I was on a webinar the other day, right? Just 2 weeks ago. Major, right? This is a major company. Should I tell you who they are? They're a major statistical company in the marketplace, right? This is a person who produces surveys that has such a reputation that if I told you their name, everyone would instantly know them, right? It's like naming a company like Shell Oil, right? But this is a major research company. Starts with a G. That's all I'll tell you. You know what their profound insight was? They were talking about how managers should really communicate with employees and how the virus had interrupted that flow, right? You know what one of their major conclusions is? When I tell you this, you're going to be shocked, but I want you to write it down. Positive reinforcement works better than negative reinforcement. Geez, I learned that. I learned that in my first year of college. I learned that growing up with my mother, who used to use negative reinforcement until she realized positive reinforcement works better, right? I got the scars to prove it. I'm kidding. I love my mother, but she's passed away now. Anyway, this is what I'm talking about. They said that to me, and I said, what am I here for? They're not telling me anything new. The other thing they said is that you should communicate to your employees. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Fortunately, I didn't pay for that webinar. Pretend you're going after the real estate agent market. You're an interior designer and you were working in this before. You start with Google and you ask Google, start with Google all the time. 70% of people who are looking, by the way, for what you do, go to Google first. Do real estate agents hire or recommend interior designers? And they will tell you that they do. Here they are, how to hire an interior designer. This is pre-COVID. You can have a whole business doing that, except what? Well, Jim, the real estate market has changed because they're not showing homes anymore. Well, they weren't, but they are now. Not at a fast pace, but homes are selling. It's just different. You have to wear a mask. Well, guess what? That doesn't mean you have to change the way you market. It means you have to flip the switch. And if that's still your goal, just change your tactics. Get the thermometer. Think virtual. Help the real estate agent today, go in when nobody else is around and have a cleaning crew sanitize the home after you've done your shaping, right? Your staging. You stage the home. I was on a web panel with a bunch of designers at one of the associations where I talk to often. And we were talking, right, about the difficulty of the environment and all that. They were, and they like my opinions because I've talked to them a couple of times in person. And I was very interested in what one designer said. She says, I would walk up, they're still doing work for people. They show up at this particular designer shows up at the door, holds her mask up and says, do you want me to wear this? And 9 out of 10 people tell her no. Now, why is that? It's because A, she's probably a trusted, right, advisor. She's gained the trust. B, right, They're not afraid. And these are not young whippersnappers. These are not the millennials who theoretically don't get infected, right? Or they may get infected, but they don't suffer the consequences. I myself am up there. But you can't be afraid of this and just, you can't do that, right? So overcome the fear. Sanitize the station, like I said. The hesitation for using a professional has always been there. Are you kidding me? There's always, why do I need a professional designer when I can go to IKEA or I can go online and do it myself? Why do I need a professional advertising firm when I know what advertising is? When I just buy some Google words and that works. Don't make Google richer than they are. And don't let it stop. He who hesitates is lost. You have to grab this. You have to grab this. Are you using a laser or a flashlight to solve that marketing problem? When you Google this and find this blog, you know, when you look at something with a laser, you miss everything around it. It's called peripheral vision. I remember after 9/11 standing in the lines at the airport, and there was a coffee guy selling coffee, bemoaning his face. He had his head in his hands. He looked so sad because no one would leave the line to go and buy coffee from him. He was looking, I don't know what he was looking at, a laser or a flashlight, but the answer to that problem was bring the coffee to them. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a profound insight, right? But it's not new. If the mountain won't come to Muhammad, Muhammad will come to the mountain. Bring your stuff to people. If you look at a laser light and you're only looking at that elephant's tail, that's all you see is a tail. You have no idea there's an elephant in the room. If you use a flashlight and you only shine that on the first part of the elephant, you miss the whole back end of the elephant. And that's what you need to do. You have to use both nowadays, both. How we doing? Good? I think we're doing good on time. Let me do a time check. Good, 10:36, we're rolling. I want to get through this. What are the characteristics of the customer that you would most like to get? These are, simple questions that are pre and post COVID environment and questions. This is pre-COVID. Roseland, I picked Roseland Property Managers as a place that would use design services. This is what they really looked like when I first started this course many years ago. This is what they looked like yesterday, and this is what they look like today. What does that tell you? Things change, and you don't need a virus to change it. Things are always in flux. What? Change is like a river, Heraclitus said, right? All things are flowing. He's a Greek philosopher. Finding information on LinkedIn is one of the key strategies you use before COVID and after COVID. Use Google to find out even more information. This is Brenda Chiochi. She was the target before COVID. She may not be the target after COVID, but she was the target, right? And so you go on and you find the right target. Explore Google. Nothing's changed. You do the same thing. You have to profile these people and then use the same tactics to contact them. There she is today, only she no longer works for that company. She moved on. She's at a different firm. Well, what good does that do me, Jim, if she went to, she's not working for that company and that's the company I want to target? I'll tell you what good it does. She's at the other company. She's at this company now. Tell her you saw her when she was at the other company and you want to reconnect with her. You try to connect with her over there, but you couldn't, and now you want to connect with her. Then find out who's in charge at the other company and do that. LinkedIn is your gift, God's gift to every one of us in finding people. It's very, very important to connecting these days. Flip that switch. The commercial market's in turmoil. So Jim, maybe I shouldn't, maybe you shouldn't. Aim elsewhere. The tactics you use are going to be the same. The virus haven't changed that. And fearful. Don't forget, people are fearful. Make it easy for them. Target one or more. Decide on your tactics, microsites, social, paid search, display ads, not recommended, but try it. And don't forget the UPS. I mailed another letter last week. One of my people came in and said, I think you should mail a letter to this person. So I mailed him a letter. I mailed it on Thursday last week. The phone rings on Friday morning. It's him. It's him. He's nervous. Why wouldn't he be? It's a COVID-infected world, right? Jim, do I know you? Did I drop the ball? Are you one of my customers? He didn't even read my letter. His assistant got the letter, said, you got this personal and confidential letter. She sent it to him, gave him my phone number from the letter. He's on the phone, talked to me. I said, Kyle, relax. I'm just trying to talk to you and have a 30-minute conversation. Oh, can you send me the letter? I sent him the letter, and we're going to arrange a phone call. You cannot be stopped if you make up your mind not to be stopped. I'm going to give you some ideas now. Do PR. Content is king. Do webinars. Heavy duty LinkedIn. Email. Be a provider of reliable information. Don't just be spouting stuff. Don't just be repeating stuff. Create your own content from the rich list you have, from your rich experience that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, your experience is like fingerprints. No one else has that. Well, Jim, everybody knows this. I talked to an architect pre-COVID who was saying to me, Jim, everybody knows what I know about schools. Every architect in the country knows what I know about schools and architecture. Within an hour of conversation, I not only proved to him how false that was, he now had 5 things he could do, 3 to 5 things that he could now know that no one else knew and no one else knows. That's what you have to do. Your experience, your fingerprint experience, what you do that no one else has done is worth tons of stuff today because it's not about you. It's about them, and they don't know what you know. If they did, they wouldn't need you before the virus and after the virus. Social media works. This is a thread of emails that I started that Dave McManus tweeted. I'm not going to go into all this, but you can hit anybody with Twitter. I'm a big Twitter guy, right? This is the president of Wolfgang Blau. He's the president of Condé Nast International. I was listening to a blog he was doing about, his topic was paywalls need scale. I'm interested in these things. And he said on the podcast, he's an avid Twitter guy. The guy interviewing him says, you love Twitter, don't you, Wolfgang? He says, I love Twitter. I stopped the podcast immediately, hopped on Twitter. I said, we should all listen to this podcast. And guess what he said? He said, well, thank you. Some people say that that was his assistant who said that. I'm going to tell you right now, it wasn't. It wasn't his assistant, because in looking at him and tweeting to him, he responded to me more than once. It's him. And we engage in conversation. So I'm going to go through some things in the remaining time. If you don't have any questions, and I don't see any questions, I'm shocked. No questions? No questions. I'm going to tell you what we've done, what my companies have done since COVID-19. That you might want to do, you might want to think about, because, you know what, knowledge is comparison. And not only that, we want to lead by example. So I'm not just whistling Dixie. I'm telling you right now, I'm throwing everything we know at including the kitchen sink. We ran a native ad. This ad cost $2,500 to run in national media, right? It was a total bomb, but it gave us learnings. We learned a lot from this. What did we learn? We learned that it appeared, or according to the people we bought it from, it appeared in all of these outlets, these news outlets. By the way, the topic was how to boost your business in a digital environment, and it led people, right, to my NKBA recorded webinar, which I've got lots of compliments on, because they said this was valid before the virus, and boy, is it valid now. This is before the virus, right? And I know that people have gone there to look at it because I can watch the count. I have counters everywhere. But one of the things we learned about this is that it didn't really have the SEO we wanted. If you Google how to boost your business in a digital environment, we should be #1, but we're not #1, right? Because if it was in all those media outlets, and again, SEO takes time. But if you Google and you add the word interline, you'll see why it didn't do good. It's in the classified ad section of USA Today. It's also an interline group, and it's in the NKBA on the bottom link, the chapters. That's where this post resides. And that's a good thing. So it wasn't totally lost, but it did teach us SEO, and it gave us a good experimental result. If you invest in stocks, you cannot possibly expect all of your stocks to go up. Advertising today is an investment. Marketing today is an investment. Everything you do today is an investment. If you Google staying in front of your customers in a digital environment, which is the topic, right? Look at all this. This is all interlined. We're all over the front page in the top results of Google. That is results. But you're going to say, well, nobody Googles staying in front of your customers in a digital environment. No, they may not Google those exact words. But the key to SEO is to be around the exact words. As an example, I gave you the examples about what to do if you lose a pitch. I want you to Google never lower your price. When we're done with this, just those 3 short words. Google never lower your price. Because all of you in the audience have been confronted at one time with some customers, some clients, somebody saying, can you lower your price? And having done that for all my years, I wrote a blog about it, never lower your price. And now it's one of my best read blogs. And I don't even have to tell people where it resides. You just have to Google it. That's called using Google to your full advantage. Never lower your price. We did a mailing to all of our clients. We have clients, lots of clients. We did a mailing. We sent them a package of marbles. We like 3D mailings. We put some marbles in that red bag you see on the lower left. We customized it. Everybody had a different insert, right? Feel like everyone lost their marbles? Let's not lose our marbles over this virus thing. We sent this out to 97 of our clients, 97. And then on the back of the mailing, which was a card inserted in an envelope with the marbles, you know, we use our marbles to help sell your products and services. We thought, this is it. This is going to be great, right? I got one comment, what a clever mailing is. Most of the people, when we follow up, and by the way, you should follow up, most of the people said what? I didn't get your mailing. And then I realized our mistake. And I'm sure, you know, I shouldn't be sharing my mistakes with you, but why not? And why didn't they get the mailing? Because they were sheltering at home. Goofy me, right? They go into the office once in a while. And I said, well, when you go back to the office, make sure you look at your desk where the mailroom put my mailing, damn it. So that was a great, but it allowed us to connect with all 97 people on the phone and have great conversations and remind people we're in business to help them sell stuff. We did postcards, direct mail. We sell a lot of equipment. You know, I have another business that sells soap, that sells products. We have e-commerce sites. We're throwing everything. We had a Florida, in Naples, Florida. We had a plumber in Naples, Florida that bought 30 of those drains. We said, well, let's do a case history. We mailed it out and we sold more of those drains across the country. This is what you have to do. This was a successful mailing, but it stemmed from an order. You have to relate things that are coming across your desk and relate them to something you can do to try to move the needle. We do what, you know, webinars, tools. This is the website, right? We do email blasts. We sell things, email blasts. We do webinars. We revamped all of our webinars. We're revamping them now. And when we revamp them, we gather people like you in the audience. Thank you so much. And we try to help them overcome the fear that they're facing. We do podcasts. We have a rep firm that represents products. And what we were doing, we decided to do is every Friday for 15 minutes, we're going to do a podcast. We called it sheltering and, you know, opening up with and sheltering with. Sheltering in comfort, that we trademarked those words, sheltering in comfort and opening up with. And we created 2 webinars each for all of our clients and we posted them. And we had great attendance from our list, not many outsiders because we were marketing to the Midwest territory. Only one person, only one of the 400 people that we broadcast to said, take me off your list. And he was an engineering firm, a great guy, but he said, I just don't need this type of information. And that's fine. And that was after he attended 4 of them. So it's okay, right? You win some, you lose some. We do interviews. This is a podcast interview I do with a major publisher, my friend David Corson. over at Commercial Construction Renovation. He too is trying different things. He too is throwing everything he can to get people off the dime here, because he too, like you and me, are trying to get, overcome the fear. So I did this broadcast. I sent that out. I tweeted about it, and I've got unbelievable response from clients. I had one major publisher who just retired. He finally gave up. He said, I had no idea, you just reminded me of all the things that you do. Guess what? Not everybody remembers what you do. That's why you got to keep telling people what you do. I linked in. When I go on a webinar, I link into the presenters. Julian Ranger is a presenter, that second guy. The top guy, I did an SEO proposal for him. And it's the major guy. He asked for a proposal on LinkedIn. I respond to these things. 9 out of 10 don't respond back to me. He did. And now I've got a dialogue with him, and I'm connected with him. You have to use LinkedIn. You have to use it. Post on your own website. I cannot say that often enough. Post on your own website. Google will find you, they will index you, and you will start benefiting from the beauty of Google, which are really the SEOs. This is very, very important. You have to be posting. As a matter of fact, you should send out information about your posts, right? I took a quick browse. I sent a report out. And when I get reports from my construction companies of the databases I respond to, I send them out to my clients, the appropriate clients. I don't just email everybody. I cherry pick it. I pick and choose. The top email was from a client who has shut down. We expect to have some marketing requirements in late July. That's right around the corner, right? Because of the virus seat crunch, we put that on the side, through then, but may want to do some press releases post July 4th. Ready, willing, and able. Post your own stuff. The bottom one there is a postcard that I got back from the post office. I want you to look at the date at this, 2016. I mailed this postcard on 2016, and it was an offer to join us for a half-day seminar, which we did at the time, doing business in the age of disruption. I said, this just showed up, right? It showed up. I took a picture. I sent it out through my Twitter and LinkedIn channels. I got more response from this. And that's what I said about it. Efficiency or what? The USPS returned this card as non-deliverable yesterday. They returned it as non-deliverable. Where has it been all this time? No one knows. My postal carrier, who I love, Lou said, it was probably in the downtown post office in Chicago, sitting in a corner someplace, but they found it and they brought it back to me, right? The Postal Service is like that. One guy said, boy, Jim, you were ahead of your time. You were offering doing business in the age of disruption in 2016. We always try to stay ahead of the curve. Only who would have expected so much disruption? The ways that you stay targeted. Phone people constantly. You cannot use the phone enough. Use the internet. Do PR activities. Explore media. Spray and pray. I love that term. My captain in the Marines, in one of our fan clients, gave me that. He's an ex-Marine guy. He was an artillery captain. Spray and pray. Spray and pray. Shoot at everything that moves. And please, ladies and gentlemen, write some letters. Try it. Prepare, prepare, prepare. We are in this together. We are in this to survive. We are in this, as a matter of fact, because if we're not in it, our businesses will keep dying. I heard this morning about the tremendous stress going on with gyms today, with fitness centers. They're being pillaged because people are afraid. They're just afraid. They're afraid. What's the answer? If someone knew the answer and they don't give it to you, what would you call them? I don't have the answers. I do know the answer is this. He who hesitates is lost. You have to keep fighting. You have to keep trying. If you do not do that, you will in fact be obsolete. You will obsolete yourself. I can tell you the answer to the gyms, but I'm not going to. I don't know if you know who Les Mills is. Les Mills is one of the instructors that he has programs that gyms like the YMCA would take and incorporate into their methodology and teach. His business for online serving of online courses at home has skyrocketed. He's offering 30% discounts on personal training online. Les Mills is not sitting still. He is not sitting behind bemoaning his fate. He is trying things. You have to try things. Any questions? That's my clap. Somebody, you know, when I record these, somebody's going to wonder what that is. That's my clap. I see a question, or I don't see. I saw Joe's hands. You had your hand go up, but you took it back. Let me look for some questions. Let's see here. Can't believe it. Come on, Joe, ask me a question. Oh, how much? Well, how much funding should you set aside for marketing? That's a question. Okay, from Wendy. Well, you know, if I had the answer to that, I would tell you. I do know this. I applied for that PPP program and got it, and that's one of the reasons we're still here. The other good news is that when we show fearlessness to our clients who are fearful, they start to feel fearlessness with us, and they invest with us, and they work with us. The new clients that we get are mainly through referral, Wendy. And that's okay, because we're working with companies today that have never done this. They smell opportunity. They smell opportunity. And that's where opportunity lies, doesn't it? Let me see, any other questions? I don't see any questions. I'd like to thank you for your time. If you have any questions after we're done, I want you to contact me, Jim at Interline Group. Call me, 847-358-4848. If you go to interlinegroup.com and evaluate, I'll send you a set of our survival guides. You know, here's another thing. We had a major I have to add this footnote. We had a major architectural firm, not in this country, contact us 3 weeks ago. The email was simple. Jim, we bought your survival guides, you know, a couple of years ago, right? And have you revised them? We found them intensely interesting and we've utilized all your knowledge. We want to know if you revised them. I didn't revise them. I haven't revised them. I opened the door and just submitted a proposal to help him penetrate the United States, Canada construction market. It took 3 weeks to do that. Whether or not he does it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's how business happens. It happens through threads. You saw that earlier email thread I was talking about with Twitter. You have to engage. You have to have conversations. You have to talk to people. If you don't talk to people, what good is it? I do have a question. Oh, my leadership is waiting for things to get back to normal. How do I leverage the COVID to help them flip the switch, change strategy? Joe, my buddy Joe. Enthusiastic. He used to sign his emails enthusiastically, Joe. I hope he still does. Joe, good to see you. The question is, his leadership is waiting for things to get back to normal. How do I leverage the COVID to get them to flip the switch and change strategy? Joe, that's a profound question. We should take it offline, but let me answer that for everybody else in the audience. It ain't getting back to normal. It's not. Should I repeat that? Joe, it's not going to get back to normal. I was at an open market, right? Open market fresh food place in Woodstock, Illinois the other day, right? Because we love farmers market, right? Then, you know, there was nothing there. Nothing. A couple of cloves of garlic. I go to another one in Crystal Lake. They will not let my wife touch the vegetables. And I'm like, what? Not only that, they have these plastic screens. They have two, you know, one lady's taking, you know, money. The other one, you got to stand in line. And then you point to the vegetables. And I said, this is crazy. My wife hates the masks. I hate the mask. She wasn't wearing a mask. Some person came running up there and said, we'd appreciate it if you put your mask on. So she did. You know, we're rebels, but we're not rebels. We wanted fresh vegetables. But when we couldn't touch the vegetables, we left. because we can touch vegetables at Jewel, which is our local supermarket, right? I'm telling you right now, Joe, it's not getting back to normal. It's not going to go back to the way it was ever. What you have to do, what we all have to do, is we have to advise our clients not only about that fact, but help them define the new normal. I hate that word, the new normal. There is no such thing. That's an adjective modifying normal. If it was a new normal, it would be abnormal. It's abnormal. It's not new normal. That's BS. So be careful how people use words. You have to define business. The way you're going to conduct business today is not the way you did it before. It's just not. So we all have to ask ourselves, how should we be doing this? And Joe and ladies and gentlemen, no one has the final answer. No one knows. You have to do this yourself and do it with other people of the same ilk who are willing to help people overcome fear. I think if you do that, and Joe says, I'm headed to corporate meeting, talk to you later. Thank you, Joe. Okay. Interline Jim, follow me at Twitter, please. If you want these courses before COVID online, go to continuingarchitect.com. Follow me. Finally, I can't thank you enough for the hour you spent with me. I know it's time never to be replaced. I know most of you were paying attention all the time. I really appreciate it. If I can help you in any way, please email me. We're here for conversations. We love conversations. And if you have any ideas you want to float by me or share, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you so much and have a great, great day. And let's go get them.